U.S. foreign aid with a focus on the Russia-Ukraine war.
Alright, MUNers, let's go.
So we said it one more time.
U.S. foreign aid with a focus on the Russia-Ukraine war.
Wait, it's funded. It's not Russian.
It's U.S. foreign aid with a focus on the war.
I support the U.S. ceasing government aid to the Ukraine.
I feel like with foreign aid, it's like a gray area just because, like, yes, I understand that, like, our money shouldn't be going into a conflict that American citizens aren't really affiliated with. But at the same time, if there's, like, an actual, like, humanitarian issue, then I think U.S. should provide money in terms of humanitarian issues, but not in terms of war intervention or conflict intervention, especially if it does not involve them.
I have to say, this might be an issue that I actually agree with right or wrong, guys.
Yeah, tell me.
Let's go.
Okay, but there are some like things. I think I see Sophia's point that like that we should be like providing humanitarian aid and stuff, but I think a small part of it is also, and I think a lot of Americans share the sentiment, is that like if we keep giving like money like militarily or even humanitarianly, but like then we just keep like inserting ourselves into conflicts that like we don't even belong in the first place. And then like it's like, okay, so all of this money is going to Ukraine, but, or like all of this money is going to like this country or that country. Like what about like our own like domestic issues? Like we can't keep handing out money to like everyone to please them. Okay, and then there becomes the expectation that the US like is supposed to like support all of these conflicts or support all of these countries while it's still struggling to support its own people. So I think sometimes there needs to be a line drawn between like giving out foreign, like giving out, I guess my thing is like involving ourselves in like foreign conflicts by giving like aid versus like our own domestic conflicts. Like I do believe USAID does really important work in like providing medicine, providing like education, providing jobs to like people in different regions. I think that kind of aid focused on like encouraging a country to like boost its economy and like boost like I guess it's like people is important. But I think like if we keep shelling out all this money to like Ukraine, like we're the instigators, like we're continuing the conflict.
I also kind of agree with this argument where I don't think we should be giving out so much to other countries. But I also understand that because I'm anti-war, I don't really think it should be a thing, especially now, especially in this current year economy or whatever. But I understand that I think as much as I do agree with not having to provide, like not providing money to Ukraine, it is also extremely helpful to humanitarian issues. I think we should be, maybe not should, but I agree with like providing medical help, maybe not war help.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we're kind of all in agreement because yes, I know that I said humanitarian agreement, but I would definitely say that intervention with the U.S. has only gone wrong, and I think like a really great example of this would be the Vietnam War.
Yep.
And so I just think when I say humanitarian aid, I know that's kind of gray area because it's also an issue of, if you're helping Ukrainians, then why aren't you helping Russians? Are you pro-Ukrainian? Things like that. But at the same time, I feel like foreign aid is important because that's also how we like foster alliances and foster relationships. So if we're not like providing aid to our alliances, then that kind of just like decimates our relationship, and our economies mainly build off of having those alliances.
That's true, that like it's important to maintain good relations with other nations. But I see sometimes over involvement from the United States breeds like anti-American sentiment. Like when we were in like the Afghanistan.
Sorry, I was checking around.
Like when we were talking about like what happened in Afghanistan, like people were getting like fed up with the U.S. troops like in Afghanistan, like or like some like I feel like we we need to like, I guess, be more cognizant of that. Is that sometimes we overstep our involvement, and that just breeds anti-American sentiment, which is like the exact opposite of what we want to gain.
Sorry, I got past you, Ryan.
I'm there, Bo.
Okay, in response to yours, you're like, if we give aid, then we might lose relationships. But I feel like we can all agree, it's like, it's not a black and white scenario. It's like, you know, in Ukraine specifically, we should stop giving aid because while we're boosting our alliance with Ukraine, we're actually really hurting it with someone that's even more important, which is Russia. And that's why it's like, it's kind of like a case-to-case scenario.
Yeah. I guess the fear is though that like if we stop supporting like Ukraine or like smaller countries that are like being invaded by other countries, well, this sets like the precedent that like, oh, the US is allowing like other global superpowers to like do whatever they want, and the US has like no authority. But I think that also is like kind of, I don't know what the word for it is, but it's like, does the US really like deserve to have like all that authority or command? Like, why is it like, I guess my question, I guess to all of us, like, why does the US have to be like the police force of the world?
Alright, let it go.
Okay, so quick question. For cases where, for example, the US has some responsibility for the issue, like in that case, do you think that foreign aid would be justified?
Probably they have responsibility, right?
So, like for example, with climate change, for like for underdeveloped countries where like they're being more affected by coastal rise, does the U.S. have responsibility in those situations?
I think that's like,
To me, no, because it's
Because he doesn't live.
because like America first, bro. America first, in my opinion, completely.
that's like tough, I would say. That becomes like what
Maybe?
yeah,
it does.
like morally, I know I'm supposed to be like, yeah, we have a responsibility.
Because then, wouldn't you also argue that shouldn't like America also have a role in like if there's ethnic cleansing or like if there's like genocide as like World War II with the Holocaust? Like, are you like if we're saying that like obviously I'm pushing it to such a degree, but that is the case, you know? Like if we're arguing that like U.S. shouldn't have any intervention in things that don't involve them, then like what if we applied that same principle to World War II, to the Holocaust, where we didn't do anything about it because it didn't involve us and millions of people are dying?
I'm being inserted in, so I'm kind of going off of that. I was actually so surprised that you guys all agreed because I disagree. So here we go. Here's what makes it interesting. But I think that we should send foreign aid. And I think to compare it to World War II, not saying that Russia now and Nazi Germany are the same thing. That's not what I'm really saying. But if you look at like, oh wait, no. Cold War, the wrong war. If you look at the Cold War with Russia, and they would, they would invade Eastern Europe, to create satellite states out of the countries. I think if America didn't have any involvement in that war, they would have successfully beaten up all the countries. But I mean, also World War II too. If you look at Nazi Germany, they invaded, France, and it wasn't until the U.S. got involved in the war that it was turned around. So I think if the U.S. isn't involved in any of these wars and sending aid, the smaller nations will get gobbled up by the larger nations.
I agree to like a certain extent, but it's also like, I feel like when the US is like providing like military aid or stuff like that, like kind of what they're currently doing in the whole like Israel-Palestine war, how they're sending a lot of like military like aid to Israel, it kind of just makes them instigators of the conflict. Going off your historical example, I think like if the US did more stuff, kind of like the Marshall Plan, they were like
I know that poll.
when they were like giving out money to like boost the economies of these like newly developing nations. I think that's more of the route that the US could take, because like not only are they boosting the economy of that nation, eventually that nation can become like a trade partner in a sense. But if like I would rather the US trade like actual goods than like trade weapons. to the nation. So
I also feel like it's just way too detrimental to the U.S. at this point. Like right now, we've already sent more than $300 billion in aid just to Ukraine. And if you didn't know, if you didn't know, in the average age of the Ukrainian soldier is 43 years old, meaning all the young ones either got killed or they ran from the war. It shows that maybe instead of having all these people dying, they should have just given off a portion of their land to Russia and ended the war, which not only led to the deaths of the Ukrainians, but also all this funding that could have gone to the U.S. instead. Because we already have so many internal issues, we shouldn't be expending this much money on something that is very
I also would like to pose a question. Well, a stance and also a question. Like, there's also an issue of public sentiment as well. Like, with the funding of Israel, we also have the public with the mass protests for pro-Palestinian, and I think that domestic policy also fractures in the sense that involvement is just having a lot of more internal issues with America. But another question to consider is that would you consider taking in refugees as foreign involvement?
yes.
Yeah, because they're detrimental to the citizens.
Okay. That's a whole nother debate. About,
Yeah, that's kind of immigration.
Refugees are detrimental.
Yeah,
I don't know how it goes.
immigration.
I'm hard to debate for that. So, but
Okay, that's
Double down
kind
on
of a
that.
different argument. Oh, okay.
It is, but I think does tie into foreign aid because if we're giving asylum and giving refugee status to people fleeing the war, whether they're Ukrainians or Russians, that does quantify as foreign involvement. So if we're saying no to foreign involvement, then we're saying no to accepting refugees.
well, I think that's a little bit broad of a statement. I think accepting refugees or accepting asylum seekers, that's more of a domestic, I don't know how to describe it, but it's more of an internal issue. I don't know, because I feel okay. So right now, the U.S. Okay, I'm gonna pivot, guys. I'm gonna use the P of LAPD. I'm gonna pivot, but right now, Russia and Ukraine are fighting, right? And there's a lot of fears in that because Russia has been attacking Ukraine, that this could inspire China to attack Taiwan. Mother, are you Taiwanese? I am Taiwanese. I'm Taiwanese. Girl,
Okay.
no way. We'll talk about this later.
Oh my god.
Okay. Hey, my people.
Oh my god, shut up, that's crazy.
Moving on. But I feel it's kind of I guess I would say that it is good that the U.S. is establishing those ties with Taiwan in terms of economics and stuff. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is that I hope that the U.S.'s somewhat involvement in Ukraine is kind of just sending a message to other nations that you can't willy-nilly invade a country without there being consequences. I guess that's why I'm a little bit more conflicted on the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, because I see how it could escalate and I see what kind of precedents could be set from it. But I also feel that too much US funding and money has gone into a war that we know is not gonna end until Russia absolutely gets what it wants.
Yeah, I think for that though is giving Russia Ukrainian land. I mean you kind of did already address this, but it would set the precedent that they want more land. But I would like to pose a slightly different question. If we have the U.S. a huge portion of the budget every year, it's 15-ish% is the military. So I'm just wondering if we don't send foreign aid, where is the money for the military going? Why have such a huge overfunded military if we're not going to use it to defend countries that are being attacked?
And I think we should have less funding for the military.
That would be a good argument, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, personally, this military aid is important, okay?
Yes, it is important, but
That's
right
the
now,
honest.
if you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure America has the most military, more than all the rest of the four, 2, 3, 4, 5 combined.
USA
Yes,
is
more.
number 1 in military spending, and the top 4 countries I'm not agreeing with you.
I'm just saying, I like this. I'm like, good stat. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying it's good stat.
Okay, I'll clap you for the good
Love
stat.
this stat.
And top of our countries combined don't compare to America's military spending. With that stat in mind, however, if we're gonna consider like no foreign involvement, then like why do we have so much money allocated for the military unless it's like for defense?
I think it's so we can like keep showing countries like it's almost like Washington. Like look, we're able to throw this much money into our military. You guys can't do that. So AKA we're the best because we have the biggest, baddest, and like the most money into our military. But I think that also raises the question of like more transparency to like where all this money is going. Like if you're gonna fund this much, then like Americans should know like where's all this money going. I think that's also true with like the Russian thing. Like we're paying like this much in like taxes. Like what if we don't want our tax paying money to go to a whole foreign nation all the way across the Atlantic? Like what if we want our tax money to like go back to our community and like infrastructure or like reducing homelessness or like reducing
I actually have a question for that because the U.S. also sends money to places in Africa for medical reasons, like what is it, HIV?
yeah, the USA.
Yeah. So what would you say in response to that? Like, because that also is considered foreign aid, right? Yeah.
True.
So
I think that's like
That's one thing I could probably reaffirm my fact that foreign aid should be allowed. Like I love how we foreign aid should be allowed within the humanitarian.
I guess like I would want less military like spending and have some of that like military spending, like all this money that we're sending to like the Ukrainian military. I would wish for it to either be like sent to like other nations that like desperately need like humanitarian aid more, or like come back to us and invest in like domestic issues. I would say, but I wouldn't want like American money to keep fueling like international